Remember this mess in Wisconsin? Well, collective bargaining rights are still smoldering as voters prepare to go to the polls. We'll have that and more right here, right now on Mean Street. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Simon Constable, and let's waste no time, go straight to Chicago where Doug Belkin is standing by. And Doug has spent a lot of time covering what's been going on in Wisconsin, because indeed there is a lot to cover, isn't there, Doug? This collective bargaining issue is coming to a head tomorrow. Bring us up to date.
So it's a lot to bring up to date. This thing started back in February. Governor Walker was elected in 2010. He pretty much as soon as he moved into office, he put this law forth. They got rid of collective bargaining, essentially gutting the public sector unions. Democratic senators left for Illinois so that the Republicans wouldn't have a quorum. The Republicans eventually passed it. There was a series of recalls, a series of high-profile elections. And then this November, Democrats collected about 900,000 signatures to get a recall election started. And there was a primary last month. The Democrats selected Milwaukee Mayor
Barrett. And now we've got a poll out that shows it's pretty much statistically neck and neck between the governor, Scott Walker, and Tom Barrett, the challenger.
Yeah, I mean, well, the latest polls have Walker up a few points, but it's pretty close to the margin of error. There's a lot of money spent up there. It's going to be a close race, but right now Walker looks like he's going to come away with a couple points ahead.
Now, you've been up there, and your story describes how this state, which has always been not blue, not red, but more purple, has split communities in a really big way. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it pervades everything. It pervades bars and families and workplaces. Politics has become really personal there because this collective bargaining issue means money out of the pockets for thousands of government workers. So people have something at stake here. And then folks who are paying into those pensions, the taxpayers who are funding them, feel like they're paying for perks for government workers that a lot of them can't afford. So there's a pocketbook issue that's become very personal, and no matter where you go, you feel it.
Yeah, and there's some great quotes in the story. One person saying, he's a weasel, a lying weasel. I guess she's talking about Governor Scott Walker. And there are other people thinking that Governor Scott Walker is not. He's just a realist and is a person who's got to do something, and something needs to be done. Is that basically the divide?
Yeah, more or less. If you are a teacher or a public sector worker and your paycheck just shriveled by 15%, and you've been bargaining for years to get these pensions and perks, and all of a sudden they're pulled away from you, he looks like a weasel from that perspective. If you're a taxpayer, you've seen your taxes go up for 14 years, your property taxes, and for the first year they've gone down. He looks like a guy who's finally coming to grips with the reality of what's happened up there in terms of the recession.
Now, it sounds to me, Doug, that this is Wisconsin is a microcosm of what's going on across the country. You've got, publicly funded union workers and beleaguered taxpayers sort of duking it out for decreased funds, right? And that's something that we could all be experiencing at one point or another, right?
This is playing out everywhere. I mean, we saw it play out in Ohio. When Governor Kasich there tried to pretty much do the same thing, and that was repealed. The unions pushed back. There's fights with unions pretty much all over the country. And what happens tomorrow in Wisconsin is going to send a really strong signal to the political establishment, especially the Republicans, whether or not there is enough public support to get away with something like this.
It's a really big issue, especially given that how close the race is now. If Governor Scott Walker wins, do you think we see this sort of being taken by the Republican Party as, hey, well, not only the states need to deal with this, but the federal government too?
Yeah, I do think this will become an election with the federal unions. I think you've seen that already. They've signaled that that's coming. Listen, the unions, even if they lose, they've signaled that there's going to be blood on the streets, that politicians are going to have to think twice before they move this way. But a win by Walker is still going to encourage some folks. Politicians are laying low right now, especially in the Rust Belt. They don't want to weigh in on what's happening here. They want to see which way the wind is blowing before they start moving themselves. Again, but the stage is set across certainly the Rust Belt and broad parts of the United States to see a replay of this. Yeah.